So ladies and gentlemen, this is the second part to my story, a true modern day fairy tale. And I hope you enjoy this, and if you do, please like it and share it to anyone who you feel will be inspired by this story. So in the last part I mentioned about where I left off was when me and my partner, we met through a dating site called Wayne, Where Are You Now? And then we went on a meal, met for the first time. He moved in with me, and he also then started to come to some of my triathlon races and help out. He was a very giving person because he worked in the RAF, and he was a reserve in the RAF, so he mainly went away for stints at a time, mainly worked at weekends, and so he would be very giving and very hardworking. Sometimes he would go away, and he was so romantic because he knew that I was training a lot for triathlon, and I loved things like power bars at the time. And one time he went to Al Udeid for a week, and he came back. In the military they have these foot lockers, and he came back with a whole foot locker full of power bars for me because he knew I would chomp through them quite easily. So and another time he went on a trip to the Ascension Islands, and he asked the RAF to load up the plane with a load of tuna because he knew I loved tuna steaks, and it was really beautifully freshly caught yellowfin tuna out there, absolutely amazing, and obviously none of the mercury and stuff that you get in a lot of tuna these days, but it was absolutely gorgeous. And she just got the guys to load up the planes with these chiller boxes full of tuna, absolutely amazing. So that was my kind-hearted partner at the time. And as I mentioned, we went to New Zealand, and he, as I say, we did lots of activities out there, like what's it called? Luge. It was like a luge we went on, and he did his 100th skydive out there. He was big into skydiving, which brings me on to the next part. We one time went to place in the UK called Weston-on-the-Green, where a lot of the military do their jumping, their skydiving training, and he was going to do a couple of jumps. I just went off and did my cycling, came back, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to go up again, but this time you've got to come up with me." And I had half an hour to prepare myself, do the briefing. He got me in this tiny little plane, strapped to a warrant officer, and the next thing I know is I'm being plunged head first out of the plane at 13,000 feet, not being told to keep my mouth shut. So the whole video, my cheeks are just going up and down like this. And so he was full of surprises. One minute, chucking myself out of an aeroplane, next minute going up in a glider or in a stunt plane, being spun upside down. And for us, he would bring home these amazing surprises of, like as I was saying about the foot lockers and things. And so as the dating went on, eventually he had to go out to Afghanistan for 3 months. And this was really hard because we'd grown quite attached, and the romance had got a lot more serious. And so when he had to go out there, it was really hard for me because you can't phone them or contact them at all when they're out on base because of the risks and everything. The only way they can communicate is like once a week. They will get a certain number of minutes of calling time, and he would be able to call me. So I had to wait for that call. I couldn't actually I couldn't call him anytime. I could write to him, and I could send out little shoe boxes and put loads of gifts in there and things like that, which I really enjoyed doing because it was my connection to him, so I put in some silly little things to send out to him, and it was quite enjoyable to do that. But it was very hard because I did really miss him, and not being able to, knowing someone is there, but not being able to just ring them or text them or call them anytime was really, really hard. And as I say, it was 3 months, and I was working in the gym at the time, and I just kept myself busy working on my house. I had a little house, as I say, that we were staying in, and so I kept myself busy, and our gym was actually being renovated. The desk was being moved around, and then one day, it was about a week before my partner was due to come back, and I got a phone call at the gym, and I'd just done a workout. I had no makeup on or anything, literally just got out of the shower, and I get this phone call, and it's Chris, my partner, and he said, "Hi, it's me." He said, "I've got some good news and some bad news. What do you want to hear first?" So I thought, oh gosh, I better hear the bad news first. So he said, "Well, the bad news is Gordon Brown's turned up, and I'm going to have to stay on another week." So I was like, oh no, I'd waited 3 months, and I was so excited, looking forward to him coming back, and knowing that I was going to have to hang on another week before he came back. It was pretty hard news. So I said, oh gosh, I said, okay, what's the good news? He said, "I'm a complete liar." And at that point, I had the phone in my hand. I turned around, and he was stood there in all his desert. And he got down on one knee, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, so I got down there with him. So, "What are you doing down there? What are you doing?" And he was like, he actually then gave me a ring, which he'd got a ring from the Afghan market, and it was a star sapphire. I don't know if any of you know what a star sapphire is. They're gorgeous rings where they reflect a star from sunlight. But he hadn't set it in gold or anything. It was just in a little bit metal band. But it was just so, it was literally like Officer and a Gentleman. He walked into my work, and the funny thing was, when he walked in, he was all in his desert uniform. He'd phoned my dad and said what he was going to do, walked past the receptionist, and they were all like this as he walked past. Couldn't believe their eyes. Said it was this scene of this military guy walking through the entrance. And of course, because the gym had all changed around, the normal entrance had been blocked off, so he couldn't find out how to get into the gym. So because he was completely nervous. Bless him. So anyway, that's how it happened, and we walked out the gym. Luckily it was the end of my shift, and I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. It was literally like a film, and unfortunately it wasn't caught on camera, which if it had been, it would have been such a sight to have seen both of our faces, and obviously me trying to get down there as he was down there on one knee as well. And so that was it. That was how he proposed, and wow, it was literally, one of those fairy tales that came true. So I just want you to really believe that, these things happen, and one day you will be swept off your feet, and it'll be unbelievable. And even if it's not as dramatic as that, that whole moment is just amazing. And what anyone tells you when you get married, it's not what you think. So some people think, once you're married, that's it, everything goes downhill. And it's not true. Actually, I found myself falling more and more in love with my husband as time went on. And I was just so lucky, because I kept having to pinch myself every day and thinking, why am I so lucky? I've got an amazing husband that, goes out of his way every single day to help me and to support me. And when my 2 children came along, he was very, very giving. He was there for my son, who was my first child, and he, would literally take the responsibility as well. He would help out and do the kangaroo care. Every night he would have my son on his chest, and so he could hear his heartbeat and have that real father-son bonding. And I really urge you, if you are a dad out there or a new dad, to spend some time with your little ones. Honestly, it's so valuable, because my son was so close to my husband, and it really is important to do that, because there are so many kids out there today who have absent fathers and it's wrecking their lives. So if you're a dad, please take responsibility. It's so important for their development. It's not just the woman's job, and I really, really believe that my kids have turned out the way they've turned out because they've had that love and support from my husband. And the next part of the story, which is part 3, is a bit of a tragedy. So although I'm advertising this as a light at the end of the tunnel, I do truly believe there is a light at the end of the tunnel in your relationships, and that you will find that person. And there are still couples out there well into their 80s or 90s that are still sweethearts. And despite what anyone tells you, that, you know, I know there's lots of divorces these days, but you really have to look at those good qualities and reflect on the good qualities, and stop projecting things onto your partner, and really look at their good qualities and be there for them. And you will get through those rocky times, because I'm not saying everything was plain sailing in my relationship with my husband, but I did turn around to him one day and I said, I can't believe that we're still so in love, and I just hope nothing bursts our bubble. And that was obviously the jinx, because our bubble did burst. And I just say to you now, just hold on to every moment, because you don't know what's around the corner. And I hope you like this story, and please comment or let me know what you think, and like and share. And I look forward to sharing more stories with you whilst I'm out walking. And I will need to think whether to share the last part of my story, part 3, because it's a tragedy, and I don't want to obviously share something that is really, really quite horrific. But let me know if you would like me to share it. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to share the next part of my story. So have a great week. Take care. Bye.